Hi folks, this is Ralph again. I guess this is part 2 of the hernia saga. So today's duty is to go to the pre-surgical clearance at the hospital. My surgery for hernia is scheduled for next week, Wednesday. So a week prior, approximately, you need to get clearance at the hospital. I already obtained clearance from a cardiologist, from the surgeon himself, and from the primary care physician. So, depending on your circumstances, you may need to get clearance from various practitioners that are servicing you. This should be brief. It's about a 5-mile ride from here. Huntington Hospital. It's a very nice facility. It was a neighborhood hospital that grew over the years into a regional center, as is most common in most suburban urban areas throughout the country. And it's a very clean, meticulous facility. The surgeon will be Dr. Fazil Siddiqui. This will be my third hernia surgery with him. The first one was done approximately 15 years ago, the second one 10 years ago, and I hope this will be my last one. So that's what today's routine is about. We'll keep you posted, and I'm going to have to bring there my medications that I take, vitamins, any supplements that I'm taking, and we'll report back on the way there. Talk to you soon. Bye. Okay, so we're getting ready to go now. My wife, Maria, with me today. Okay. It's not that far, so we should be there in 15-20 minutes, just on time. So how did this surgery necessitate itself? Well, about a year ago, actually almost to the day, my next door neighbor was doing construction at his house, and our houses on that side of the property are relatively close, about 10 feet apart, separated by a fence. And his contractor was using very heavy earth moving equipment very close to my fence, and the original foundation wall of on that side in the basement was constructed out of brick, and again, the house is over 100 years old. The original house, part of the house, it's since been renovated and added onto by myself. But at any rate, it weakened the wall, and in the middle of the night, Maria thought she heard a crash. I didn't pay any attention to it. When I got up in the morning, I went down into the basement, and that entire length of 22-foot foundation wall had collapsed itself into our basement, along with about 2 feet of all the soil that was from 8 feet down below grade to up to the foundation line in our basement. So I had to scramble quickly to shore up all of the floor joists, and you'll see photos from that at some other point in some other future videos, and support the first, second floor and roof from the basement to ensure we would not have a calamity. Luckily, nothing collapsed from the main structure of the house. We had some very minor cracking of the tape and spackle in the dining room. That was it. There was no structural damage whatsoever, aside from the foundation wall itself. So, once I got that all shored up, and this was in the end of February or March of 2019, which, unlike this year, was extremely cold. So I then, since we only have 2 feet of room between the house and the property line at that side, And I didn't want to involve my neighbor in this issue because he has problems of his own, financially and otherwise. I undertook to do all this work myself. I had estimates to have it done about $25,000 to $27,000, which I did not feel like spending. And I had the time, so it's just a matter of using my sweat equity, so to speak, and to remove all the material from the basement, all of the bricks that had collapsed, all of the backfilled soil. So that took approximately 2 to 3 months of hand excavation with a 5-gallon bucket up and down my basement steps to the outside patio where it was stockpiled neatly, and the bricks were separated from the rest of the material, covered with a tarp. And this took several months of me doing daily labor, about 6 hours per day. It's about all I could handle. Hundreds and hundreds of trips up and down those basement steps with 5-gallon buckets full of bricks and or backfilled dirt, which was quite moist and heavy. Needless to say, without me realizing it, that was the cause of this hernia. The heavy lifting, the moist soil in the bucket, stacking it in a large pile, and I was not aware I had hernia. For months thereafter, I was in extreme pain. Prior to that, I was in pretty good pain, and subsequent to doing all that work, I was in pain as well. Now, during the summer months, I reconstructed the wall out of reinforced concrete block and filled fully with concrete all the way to the top with reinforcing, etc., etc. And you'll see future videos on that with photographs. And that was hard work as well. Had to be done in basically 2 rows at a time, filling them up, reinforcing them, backfilling, waterproofing the exterior foundation wall, because again, I only had 2 feet of area on the outside of the wall to work with, and then it was the fence and the property line. And that process took several months to do as well. And block work is heavy if you're doing it by yourself. Concrete work is heavy if you're doing it by yourself. So again, the pain did not exacerbate, only got worse. And in November, actually we had an epiphany on November 1st. I felt so terrible. I said, we have to change our lifestyle. We're doing something wrong here. This pain has got to go away. I'm not one to take ibuprofen or any over-the-counter medications. I don't think it's good for my organs. And so we embarked on a path of wellness, which included changing our entire lifestyle of how we eat, what we eat, and how we exercise. Basically, it was going to the gym 5 to 7 days a week, every day at 5 a.m. in the morning, and going to change of diet, which Maria took the lead on and prepares every day unprocessed fresh food for every meal and every snack. And the pain had subsided somewhat, but one day when I went to the restroom, I felt the pain as if it was from the same pain I had in a previous hernia. And sure enough, I felt down there, and there it was. I felt it, not ever thinking I had a hernia. And I thought the pain was coming from, you know, strenuous exercise, the back, etc. And that prompted me to make an appointment with the previous surgeon that had done the 2 previous hernia operations I had, and he discovered high blood pressure during that initial consultation. That led me to a cardiologist who prescribed a very mild blood pressure medication, and that was in November. From November to today, continued with the medication. Blood pressure has come into the normal, very normal range daily. I take it in the morning, readings in the morning and in the evening. And we continue to go to the gym. We continue with that diet. I had lost approximately 40 pounds. Maria had lost approximately 30 pounds in that time. And I'm pain-free. Without any medicine, just maintaining that lifestyle. Some basic vitamin supplements that I take. Nothing off the charts. And the healthy eating habits, so eliminating sugar, bad carbs, etc. out of our diet, and doing this regimen on a daily basis. So needless to say, the hernia still needs to be repaired, because going to the gym, I cannot do certain exercises because I know it would contribute to the worsening of the hernia, and I don't want that to happen. Now, why do it now? Even the surgeon asked me that question. I said, well, I know as I get older, and I saw this in my parents who had failing health in their later years, that undertaking surgery later in life is not as easy to recover from when you're still in, I consider myself middle age. I'm 60, going to be 62 next month. And I felt this is the time. I have the time. I'm semi-retired, and my healing capacity is going to be better now than later. So that's why we are doing it now. I'm also doing it now, which is still somewhat winter here, and the outdoor activities are somewhat limited due to the weather and temperature. And I've completed most of my heavy-duty work of the interior home projects for the winter, and I figured by the time I'm all healed up, summertime will be here. I'll be in great shape for summer, resume my activities at the gym, and any other outdoor projects I have planned that can be done without significant heavy lifting, which is no longer the case. So that's why we're here today, and we should be at the hospital shortly, and we'll report back on the outcome of this. Like I said earlier, I got already clearance from the cardiologist. I got clearance from the surgeon. I got tentative clearance from the primary care physician, and now it's the hospital itself that has to admit me for surgery, pre-admittance testing for the surgery, which is scheduled for next week, Wednesday. And I look forward to getting this chapter behind me. The two previous hernias, well, the first one occurred about 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, when I was doing the main construction of an addition on the home. And again, I built the entire home myself with no outside labor or help, and carrying a very heavy triple 2x12 header to a second floor level, and I kind of felt it pop out on me. And I had driven around with that for a while. I also had a consulting firm at the time, and I was traveling around the country, again, not realizing it was a hernia. I'd never had one before. And again, chronic back pain, driving for many hours. My business took me on the road across the United States to almost every state. In fact, every state, times 10. And came home, and as a pilot also, I was scheduled for an FAA flight physical. And that particular doctor discovered the hernia and said it was borderline strangulated, and I should get it addressed immediately. So I had surgery scheduled the following day, and sure enough, it was getting to the point of being strangulated. The doctor was Dr. Siddiqui, Fazal Siddiqui of the Huntington Medical Group. Now it's New York Langone Medical Center. An excellent surgeon, great bedside manner. If you're ever in this area, you need general surgery performed, I highly recommend him. You should check him out. We'll give a link to his website and information about him. So that was hernia number one. A very small scar. It was not laparoscopic. It was an open hernia surgery. It was a left side inguinal hernia, and a very successful outcome. Pain was, to be expected the first several days. several weeks before I could do anything, you know, reasonably normal, like, you know, brisk walking, etc. But long-term effects, after 6 months, I was 100% back to normal, doing very aggressive, you know, exercising, etc., with no effects from pain. And my back pain that I felt from the hernia was from a strangulated nerve, and that was gone the next day. The only pain I had was from the actual surgical cut. So that was hernia number 1, and that went really well. There's absolutely no evidence of it on my body. You cannot see where the cut was, no scarring, etc. Hernia number 2 happened while I was attending to my parents during their later years. I was the primary caretaker, and my father was not bedridden, but there were times where he would fall and I'd have to lift him up, and he was not a small person, and sure enough, I lifted him up and my belly button popped out. So that was a what do you call umbilical hernia, and it, you know, it didn't hurt. It just looked kind of funky. You know, it looked like I had a big what was it, like a grape sticking out of my belly button. And it just didn't look, you know, I had a nice little innie before. I didn't want an Audi. So the Audi I want, you know, has 4 wheels. Not that kind of Audi, but, you know, an Audi, as in O-U-T, T-Y. All right, I got to get myself into the hospital here, so bear with me a moment. So anyway, Maria, from her gym rat routines at the gym, and very aggressive with abdominal exercising, had also gotten a hernia in her upper torso, not in the umbilical area.
I had a central.
Oh boy, where do I go to park here? That's a good question. Yeah, so she had a different hernia. Anyway, at about the same time, we both decided to contact Dr. Siddiqui, and he scheduled a dual hernia. I call it a hisnia and a hernia, mine and hers. Same day surgery, both of us side by side. I forgot who went first, but
I would ask him really quick.
You know where general parking is?
If you go out to the street, make a right, make another right, that's where it is.
Thank you.
A right and a right.
Okay. And so we had a hisnia and a hernia performed both the same day, and
same time,
same doctor, same facility. It was great, and we still joke about it today. Dr. Siddiqui was the surgeon. Again, great.
He said a right and a right.
Okay, I gotta make a U-turn. And it turned out really well for both of us. Hers, again, she didn't have that little bump sticking out, and my belly button became an innie again. I didn't get the Audi I want, but I have my nice innie back. And again, small recovery period as usual. Actually, this one was a lot easier than the previous surgery for me. And
it's weird because he said a right and a right. That's his employee.
Yeah, it's up there,
so,
I think.
Oh, up ahead. A right and a right. Oh, there it is, right there.
Yeah. So that surgery went well, and Maria as well has a great outcome from that. So this last one is the right inguinal hernia, and that should totally patch me up now. I have no room left for anything to go anywhere. Hopefully it doesn't come out the side of my cheek one day.
You're fully patched.
What, Mommy? This is the parking.
No, I said you're fully patched.
I'm fully patched. Yeah. And that's why we're here today, to get this last one taken care of, and we'll give you an updates on, you know, how the surgery went and all that, and what my recovery is. I'll give you some live video of my agony that I'm going to have for sure. And I don't know if this person's pulling out. Yes, he is. So I got a spot to park, hopefully.
I hate to park in that corner.
Well, there's a spot there, so we're going to park there. And hopefully it doesn't take 10 minutes to put on his seatbelt.
Maybe you could look around and see if you find another one.
I don't see anything, so I'm gonna sit tight here.
Okay.
I don't know what he's doing in there. Well, his car is started. Maybe he's got to get his whole computer network running.
Yeah, right. Did he start it?
The car started.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Here we go. All right, let's shoehorn this one right in here. Okay, we're 2 minutes late, but that's okay. So here we are approaching Huntington Hospital. The old pavilion in the front is the original part of the hospital. Actually, two of my children were born here, Alex and Lauren. My wife Maria is cold, so she's up ahead of me. Pretty full. Business is good at the hospital. This is a suburban community, Huntington, New York. It's not where I live, but I'm close. You can see it's part of the Northwell NYU Langone Medical Center, medical group. Wow, I feel like I'm getting on a flight. A flight to Hernia Land. Ooh, look at this fancy schmancy place.
Which one?
I think we gotta go through the doors first. Here we are. Our pre-surgical testing. Okay. Hello, we're back from our pre-surgical testing at the hospital. So let me show you what's in our goodie bag and what happened. That's pre-surgical testing. Number one, I had to bring all my medicines and vitamins. There's only one medication. It's the blood pressure medication. Mostly my vitamins. And they go over the list of the ingredients and what you're taking, as well as, you know, your basic health history. And they review all the clearances from any medical practitioners that you're currently seeing. Your primary care, the surgeon himself, and like I said earlier, what was it? The cardiologist. So you're giving this new thing that we haven't seen before at the hospital. And there's a list of procedures, the day of surgery, what to go through, what to verify, what you can and cannot do before surgery. In my case, it's got to stop eating and drinking after midnight. I don't do that anyway. I can continue with the blood pressure medicine. Where to go when you arrive. And you need to have someone bring you and pick you up, which will be your wife Maria, because you'll still be under the influence of anesthesia. Now, this goodie bag here is a new thing that has not been practiced before the previous 2 surgeries. What I have to do now is insert on a Q-tip 4 days prior to surgery Pyrosin pre-surgical ointment on a Q-tip in each nostril each day, morning and evening, 4 days prior to surgery. That's a newbie. You have to put clean sheets on your bed on the night you begin your showers, and your pajamas should be freshly washed as well the day before surgery. All right, I guess they're trying to mitigate the problems of any contaminants coming into the hospital, which is not a bad thing. And there's also this showering regimen that you must do now. You have to shower for, I think it's a week. I have to check here. Yeah. For 3 days prior to, you take your normal shower and we rinse off, and then you use these surgical sponges which contain a disinfectant, and you're supposed to wash yourself, not your face, not your private area, and throw them in the garbage when you're done. So these are new things, new activities they have you doing now to eliminate, and they tell you why, to eliminate surgical site infections. Well, it's not a bad thing. I don't mind doing it. And I'm glad they are proactive in trying to prevent infection and disease at a surgical site. So the next time you'll see us is on the way to the actual surgery itself next Wednesday, and we'll report to you then, and then we'll do a post-surgery follow-up, and hopefully that'll give you some background information as to what to expect for basic inguinal hernia surgery, and I'll give you some post-op videos of my recovery, which shouldn't be too bad. All right, signing off. Thank you. Hi folks, well, D-Day's come, actually H-Day. Hump day for Wednesday? No, today's hernia day. So what I have to do prior to my surgery appointment, which is at 7:30 this morning, I am going to take my last special shower that the hospital requests I do. It's done with this kind of special disinfectant sponge. And then I have yet to do a thing where they want you to use this ointment, Pyrosin, put it on a Q-tip, and in each nostril, swirl it around on the upper end of the nostril. And the idea behind that process is to eliminate or prevent some surgical site infection. And they have a card here. They want you to acknowledge that you've done those things. Regarding the showering, it's 3 days prior, 2 days prior plus the day of. So 2 days ago, it's been done each evening, and today's the last morning before surgery. On the back of the card are the days, morning and evening, that you must do the nostril deal, and I'll be completing the last check off this morning. It doesn't have any odor to it, the nostril disinfectant, and the sponge is there's some instructions regarding that. It's the sanitary sponge. You are not to use it on your ears, face, or private areas, and you shower normally first with your normal soap, and then after that you rinse off with that, you use this sponge, and I'll show you what it looks like just a moment. This is the one I used last night. So the disinfectant is on the padded part, not on the sides. So you lather up all the areas except your face, ears, and private genital area, and then you lather that up very well, including your fingers and hands and toes and feet, and then you use the scrubbing brush part of it to scour all the areas and get them really well lathered up and scrubbed off. And then in the package is this little toenail cleaner. They want you to go under your toenails and fingernails and with this thing and clean those out as well. So I had to do this 2 evenings, and now the morning before. Each time you have to use a fresh bath towel, and the night before surgery, you need to use you have to have fresh bed sheets placed on your bed, and fresh clean pajamas the night before you have surgery planned. And that's the hospital's protocol, and that's what I follow. I figured stay with the program. Prevention is important, and I certainly, in the light of the whole thing going on with the coronavirus, I don't want any opportunity for infection to get into my surgical wound. So I'm going to shower up now and get ready to go, and we'll check back in with you when I have out of the shower and I'm dressed and I can put the ointment in my nostril. I'll show you how that's done. Okay, bye. Hi again. So I did want to show you the surgical site where it will occur today, where my hernia is, without getting into too close a detail because it's near my lower private area, and the 2 previous surgeries that have been done, one about 20 years ago, one about 9 years ago, and they were done differently. So the first site was done as an open hernia, meaning there was no laparoscopic surgery performed. It was done with an incision, and all the work was done from that incision point. The other one was done laparoscopically, and then this one I anticipate will also be done an open hernia with a large incision. So just to the nature of it and its location. So the first hernia location, you can see that barely see a scar here. I don't know if that's coming through in the camera well, but right here. And that was the open incision point. That was the more painful of the 2 hernias that I had done previously. And the scarring is very minimal. There's a patch in there, and I've had no issue with that. It was 6 months before I resumed total normal activities. After 3 weeks or so, the pain was, pretty much subsided, but very painful initially, and you definitely need some assistance around the house, getting in and out of bed, up and downstairs. I'm in a multi-story. My house is several flights, so it's a little, let's say, difficult at times to get up and down. So the first day is definitely going to be bed, and then gradually get yourself up and start walking around, going to the restroom, etc. Make yourself a meal. But initially, my wife Maria is going to help me. So this one was the first one. It occurred from strenuous lifting when I built the home many years ago, lifting a very large beam into place by myself, and that's what caused that one to occur. So that was the open one. That's the left inguinal hernia. The second hernia, which was at the umbilical hernia, what this looked like previously was a big bulging protrusion of my navel, almost the size of a small, I'd say a large grape or a small golf ball. And it didn't look, it wasn't painful, it just didn't look right. So this was done laparoscopically. There were a total of 5 incisions, 2 here, 2 like 1/4-inch incisions each there, and then 1 incision at the top of the navel there. And again, a patch was inserted, and he pulled back my navel to what it looked like before I had a hernia. So not bad, and much less painful than the inguinal hernia. The third hernia surgery, which I'm going to have performed today, it's right in here. And I can feel a bulge of about the size of, I'd say, maybe a very small avocado, or maybe the size, feels like the bulge is about the size of a ping pong ball, maybe a little in an elongated shape. So that's where the incision will be, right here, I anticipate. And that's the lower right inguinal hernia. And that'll be the third patch, and hopefully the last patch, and I'll be done for this process for the duration, hopefully. And I anticipate pain, and in that anticipation, the hospital was kind enough to also already send my pain meds over to the CVS pharmacy, which I picked up yesterday. And just for you, those of you who haven't had any hernia surgery before, the biggest annoyance is, of course, your first bowel movement, or bowel movement in general. It is strenuous, because that's all your lower abdominal muscles that you use to exert and push. And to avoid the pain and agony that goes with that, I haven't gone through it. I already picked up some stool softener here, and magnesium citrate. This is just the store brands. You don't have to go crazy with any branded names. That's in anticipation of the exertion, to eliminate some of the exertion on and relieve some of the pressure in producing a bowel movement, because it can be painful, and I wasn't prepared for that the first time. Not to mention that the pain medicine will create some mild constipation. So to head that off is why I bought those two products, and I anticipate they'll be very helpful, as they had been in the past. So we'll keep you up to date, and again, I'll review with you again when I get out of the shower on how I insert the nasal disinfectant into my nose. Bye. Hi there, we're back again, all showered, cleaned up, spanking shiny new. One of the other things that you should be aware of, that the hospital will probably tell you, is to remove all jewelry, piercings, etc. I don't have any of that except for my wedding ring, which I hadn't taken off since the last surgery about 9 years ago. So that's going to go into my nightstand, and that's so nothing gets lost in the process. And in case by any chance I'm going to put you in an MRI, you don't have any metal objects on you. Let's see, what can we check off here? We can check off that we completed the protocol for the showering. All done. The last thing that we need to do is do this last nasal passage treatment. So you take a Q-tip, and this is the Pyrosin that the hospital gives you. And you just pierce it with the top of the cap. It's done last night. You place a little bit onto the Q-tip here. They give you 3 tubes of this, and there's not a lot in there. So that's for one nostril. And you insert it up the nostril as high as you can go without getting too anxious. And you swirl it around in there. And that's nostril number 1. Nostril number 2. I have to squeeze some of this out, just a moment. There's not much left in the tube, so it's giving me a little difficulty here. And the tube is very slippery. And when you have man hands and little things, they don't go well together. Okay, there we go. You see a little dab on there? You can see that. And I just bring that around a little bit. All right, so into nostril number 2. Swirl it around the top as much as possible. And that process is complete. There's actually absolutely no odor to this. It doesn't sting, nothing like that. It's just a salve. So Dave's surgery, that was completed. I'm going to check that off. The ointment is done. and I can discard that. Lastly, based upon experience from the previous 2 hernias, I don't want to produce heavy bowel movements during my recovery, initial recovery of the first 2 days. You may be different. You may be told different by your doctor what to eat, what you should and shouldn't consume. My experience for me is I want to be on a more liquid diet, make things easier on myself as I get older. So I purchased these at CVS. They're purely organic protein shakes. These are meal replacements. They're going to take care of 2 meals a day. I bought one in chocolate flavor. I've never had these before, one in vanilla flavor. So I'll report on these. They have, let's see, the basic, it's plant protein, 7 grams of fiber, 2 grams of sugars, active probiotics, and it's a fruit and veggie blend. So it's, I read over a few of them they have there, and it's organic. So it looks like a reasonable product for what I need to do for myself. And I'll let you know how this tastes and how it works out. And what else did I want to tell you? Oh, so the first hernia, I think I told you earlier that it came from lifting a heavy beam. The second hernia came many years later, and that was when my parents were still alive and I was attending to them, the elder care. I was the only child, so there was only one person to do it. And my dad had gotten heavy over the years, fell, had a stroke, etc. numerous times. And I'd have to lift him into bed many times. He gained weight over that period. And lifting him one day, I did pop out the belly button. It didn't hurt, it just happened. And but I did get it repaired. Well, that's how that one happened. The third one, I think I mentioned in the early part of the video series that I got from the reconstruction of a basement wall and the demolition removal of all that debris and lifting 5-gallon buckets of moist dirt, concrete blocks in a very confined area. So that produced the third hernia. I think I'm done with hernias. So this should be it. I'm all patched up. We'll be all patched up this afternoon. My scheduled appointment is at 7:30. So we're going to get going to the hospital now, and we'll talk to you shortly. Thank you.